Hey guys, Jared Codling here, new hack every week, and the hack of this week is Upwork hiring and scraping. We're going to scrape them leads. So off we go. So just a note, this is a multi-part hack. So what I'm going to teach you is how I hire on Upwork really effectively, and this is going to apply not just to scraping, but you're going to see some tricks and tactics that I use. So even if you were to get design work or something like that done, you can definitely take some takeaways from this and use it there. But how I scrape websites and have other programmers off Upwork do it for me. So as many of you know, I am a programmer. I can scrape stuff myself. But why the hell would I do that when I can just pay some guy in the Ukraine to do it for me? And he'll do an amazing job and he'll do it a lot cheaper than what my time's worth. So here's the best part. This isn't even technical. It just takes a little bit of homework and then an expert will do the hard work. So I'm going to show you how we actually work out how to do this and how we give great instructions and get a great result. So here's my usual flow. I'll find a site that I want to scrape, and by that I mean, what kind of leads do you want? I'm going to give you some examples of what I've done. Then we go to hire on Upwork, and we're going to get a programmer to scrape it for us. And then if we need to, we're going to enrich the data. And so I've already shown how to do that in previous hacks, but I'm going to revisit that just so you can see exactly how it applies to this situation. But I need to change the order. So that was a really linear flow. This is going to make much more sense in a non-linear flow. Just trust me on this part. So let's get into it. So first up, why do we do this? Well, we want leads. So to start off with, we need to know what kind, because that dictates what we're going to scrape. So we're not just looking for easy targets to scrape. You can scrape most websites. We're more looking for, who's already got the leads that we want. And, for example, like if we're going to cold call, then we want mobile numbers. If we want to cold email, well, do we want the work email or the personal email? Or you can use these for a custom audience in Facebook. All of those are really legitimate uses, but it's going to dictate where we're scraping and how we're going to enrich the data, because we want to end up with that end result. And this is what a lot of people don't do. This is how I take it to the next level. Some people will scrape data and they'll only target sites that have already got the email address, for example. But see, we already have other hacks. So if we leverage multiple hacks together, we can get a great result. The lucky thing is, like in my earlier hacks, I already explained data enrichment. So we can use people, duck soup, hunter, and we can combine these hacks and build something, these amazing lists that nobody else in the world can, because they just don't combine the data that way. So enrichment examples. We find a site with a huge number of companies on it, but it only has like a LinkedIn address. So let's say we've got like this huge database of, say, plumbers, and it's got their LinkedIn address, but that's all it's got. We would scrape that list of their LinkedIn addresses along with their name, and then we'd take that list. So we've got this CSV, and what it's got is a list of names and a list of LinkedIn addresses. And we'll take that to Duck Soup if we want to get personal email addresses, or we'll take it to hunter.io if we want to get work addresses. And so, yay, we have a list out of that. So quite straightforward. Let's say that they've only got a full name and a company. So this might be a database. It could be a list of people that went to an event. It could be an industry database. It really depends what you're trying to achieve and what your industry is. And just think, like if you run an agency, this is something you can do for clients. But basically, you can go with just a list of names and companies. And you can take, if you've got the company domain, you can actually take that to Hunter. And then bang, you've got a list. Let's say that you've got full name and company, but you need to get the phone number. Well, then we've got an extra step. So we'll scrape this list and we'll have a CSV that's got like everybody's names. It might be like a full list of all the plumbers in Alabama, right? So we've got a list of plumbers' names, a list of their companies, but we need their phone numbers. And so what we might actually do is we'll get a CSV with just their names and companies. We'll take that to Hunter, and then we'll take that to people.com, and then bang, we have a list. We now have all their phone numbers as well. And so with data enrichment, you never get 100%, but if we get 80% of their phone numbers, it's still an amazing list. So where do we scrape? Well, it really depends what leads you need. So I'm going to run you through some examples, and hopefully that triggers something. But guys, post in the comments if you have, if you've got a really specific task, and I'm more than happy to show you how to find, various places that you can scrape. So if I wanted a list of every real estate agent from the biggest real estate agency in Australia. I'm from Australia. I used to actually work for this company, Ray White, and they've got thousands of agents. So how would I go about that? So on their homepage, it's actually got this find an agent bit. And so what we can do is we can actually just punch in Sydney and within 50 kilometres. So it sucks that we've got to do it city by city, but most agents are in metropolitan areas. Within 50 kilometres, that's a huge, when you actually think it's a radius, that's a huge amount. So if we just do all the major cities and did 50 kilometres, that's really going to pick up all of the agents. And as you can see, if I was to search for that, this is actually really scrapable data. This is like the easiest scrape ever. And I know because I've actually scraped this myself. So if you highlight the email, it'll actually come up down in your status bar with their email address. If you click on it, it'll open Outlook or something like that. So I'll get their phone numbers, I'll get their email addresses. Great for a custom audience, great for cold emailing. It's even giving me their job title. So if I only want to go after people with sales in their job title, well, I can sort that in Excel really easily because I'm going to get a CSV as the output. And so as I said, guys, I'm going to go through in a really non-linear order. I'm going to show you some examples, and then I'm going to show you how to hire someone on Upwork to actually do this. So don't worry about how you're going to scrape it. More worry about, could you do this manually? And if you can manually do it, then a programmer can do it. So how about the second biggest? Rain and Horn. It's the second biggest real estate agency. This one's a bit trickier, and that's why I included it, because sometimes we have to do a little bit of homework. And you don't want to rely on the guy on Upwork to do it. You want to work out, how would I manually sit here and get this data? Yes, I know it's literally going to take you hundreds of hours and you would never do it, but if you can do it manually, then it can probably be done automatically. So once again, they've got like this search office or agent. That's great. We can click on that off their homepage. And then it's going to make me put in a suburb or something like that. So I just chucked in Sydney. And, I can end up at this agent. I can go and click on one of the agents from Sydney and I have a look at his profile. And it's great. I've got his mobile number. So it's great if I want to do like a custom audience. But what if I wanted to cold email him? Because this email thing just here, it actually scrolls down to the contact form. So we've got this agent profile and we can see like, geez, it doesn't have all the data we want because it's going to take us to a contact form. And sometimes you just got to fish a little bit. You just look for an opportunity. So this download contact, and this is reasonably common on corporate websites. That's actually for a thing called a V card, and I'll get into that in a sec. But if all the data that we want is actually in the V card. So if we download that, and I've just opened it up in Notepad. So a V card, that works on your phone as a bunch of contact details. It works in your email program. This is what it looks like in Notepad. When I open it up, it's got all the details I want. So yes, they didn't list his email directly on the website. Doesn't matter because a programmer can very easily scrape this and just read that data straight out of the V card. And I know because I've done this. But like, how do we get all the agents? So I just showed you how to get to one agent, but like, how would he scrape that? There was no actual list of agents for him to go through and scrape. So sometimes you got to do a little bit of digging. So what I found was in the footer, it's got this thing called Our Offices. If I click on that, it's got them broken down into the various states of Australia. If I click on that, it's got all the offices listed. So I went New South Wales, and it's got all the commercial ones, and it goes, residential offices. It's got every single office that they have in that state. And if I click on one of those, it's going to take me to this. And so you can see it's Bardwell Park. So this is like an individual office, and we want to see their staff. So we can click on their staff, and what do you know? We've got Meet the Team, so we've got all of their staff. And if we click on one of those, and I know we're going really deep here, but I'm going to show you how this all works out. We click on that, and voila, winning. This is exactly the same as that one before. We can download the contact thing, and he's got his email address in there. So you could manually do that, right? You could click on you could start at the top, and you could manually click on, view all the offices, and then click on a state, click on an office, click on find our team, click on an agent profile, download the contact, and pull the email address out. You could do that manually. It's a massive pain in the ass because there's like 10,000 agents, but you could do it. So that means a programmer can do this a lot faster. So the instructions for the coder would be, go to the All Offices page from the footer, go into each state, go into each office, go into each team member, go into the V card, and pull that data straight into a spreadsheet, because that's what they're going to give back to you. So it's really not that complicated. If you were to give them those instructions and really lay it out for them, they're going to be able to automate that. So it will automatically do every single step. And it will automatically go into every single office. It'll go into every single team member inside every single office. It'll go inside every state. So it's just this really mechanical way of doing it, but it's so automated. It doesn't take very long at all. If a programmer can scrape this in seconds sometimes. So this is why I'm showing you this order. The better your instructions are on Upwork, the better the result. Like, I know, but like, seriously, do not trust them to work it out. Don't say, I just need all their, agents scraped off this website, they'll fuck it up. You need to give them really, really good instructions, make it really crystal clear, make sure that, they're going to do it exactly how you would do it manually, and you'll get the result you want. Here's the thing. If you can do it manually, a coder can do it automatically. I know I've said this a bunch of times, but I know some of you are going to be a little bit scared going, this is technical. It's not. If you can do it manually, a coder can do it. And you just give them the example of how you do it manually, and they're gonna get it. So I'm gonna give you some more examples because, by the way, I've done all of these. So I've scraped all of these. So AngelList. Let's say I wanted, so this is angel.co. It's it's probably the biggest startup website. So it's got all the companies. Pretty much every startup in the world's on here, or most of them. And we might have a campaign which we want to run at startup founders. So we can jump into all companies and you can chuck in some details. United States, raised between this amount. You can see like it's got all these companies. And I'm going to break this apart because this is quite a complicated scrape. This one was a bit of a bitch, and I'm going to show you how hard it can get. But I'm going to show you that it can be done. And sometimes this is worth hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars to you if you've got the right data. This is how you really growth hack. This is like true at the core growth hacking, in my opinion. So we've got all these companies listed here, but there's 18,000 of them. And so if I scroll down, it's got like this more button. And so as I say, you could do that manually, which means a programmer can do it. But if I clicking more, it eventually gives me this error, which is like you reach the maximum of 20 pages per query. Now, 20 pages might be like 50 per page, right? 50 startups per page every time we hit more. That's only 1,000. There was 18,000 that we needed. So now we've got this list, but we can only get the first 1,000. Like, what about the other 17,000? How the hell are we going to get them? And that's where I'm going to introduce you to query strings. So query strings are, I know this sounds technical, but it's really not that hard. They're the bit that comes after the question mark in a URL. And so you'll see this all the time if you start looking for it. And you're going to see opportunities when this happens. So another example of this is on LinkedIn. If you do a search, it'll have something in the query string which says like limit equals 50. And that means you can only see 50 results on the page. If you just change the URL and you made it 500, it'll actually show you 500. So I do that all the time on LinkedIn. So query strings can be good. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But as you can see here, it's got like the minimum amount they raised in investment and the maximum. So if I was to do that in 50K increments, like just increment that of the investment stage, I'd probably get about 1,000 results each time. I'd get less. I'd get way less actually. And so if I had a program, I'll automatically do that. So it grabs all the startups, it might be like 800 of them that have got 0 to 50K in funding. And then it might be another 800 or 400 or something that's got like 50 to 100K. You just keep going like that. They really segment out that data based on using the query string. They're just going to scrape that data, increment it, scrape again, and they just keep repeating. And that's what scraping is all about. They're just really repeating a manual process. So as I say, you could do that manually. So that means a coder could do it. But we want to get them to go deeper, right? Because, that's a list of companies, but we need all the founders' details. So they need to go even deeper than that, right? So we had that list of companies because we've done a company search, but we want founders' details because we need to be emailing the founder. So we click on the company, and inside the company, it's got the founders. So great, but there's no contact details. So that sucks, right? So let's just click on one of them, Vivian Chan. Well, if we go inside the founder, here's some interesting details, right? We've got her LinkedIn, we've got her Facebook, her Twitter. So we now know her name, where she worked, we know where she's from, we know a lot about her. We just don't have any contact details. So let's get them. And we've got a few options. Really depends what you want to achieve. So here's your options to enrich data. Number one, you can scrape the company domain in the earlier step and take the founder domain and company domain to hunter.io. So as you can see here, their company domain is usetrusted.com. And I chucked in Vivian Chan, and it suggested this is most likely her email address, vchan@usetrusted.com. As I say, this is not always going to be exact, but there's a really, really good chance that that's going to be her. Or we can enrich the data with people.com. So we've used this one in an earlier hack, where we're, I think it was my ultimate stalker technique. And just a hint, you can use social profiles. So I've just chucked in her Facebook here under the username section. And it's got me her mobile number if I wanted that. People also have her personal email address, work email address. They have a lot of details on her. They have a lot of details on everybody. So it's that easy. Now, always with people, so if you are using people, I've just done this as a demonstration that you can just chuck their Facebook address and it works, because we do have their social profiles in that account. But you should always, I should have put Vivian Chan and given all the details that I've got, and people does a better job the more data that you give it. Or if, we've got her LinkedIn, and it had her LinkedIn address. So you can use Duck Soup to get her personal email. And so I got more deets on that in an earlier hack, but you can get her personal email address from LinkedIn, just like that. And just a quick note, so both People and Hunter have an API. So an API is just like a way that programmers can automate and tap into other databases and other systems. So you can even have they charge for API access, just like they charge for using their service. But as I say, if these leads are worth it to you, then it's going to be worth it. And in one of my earlier hacks, I said how with People, you can kind of game that and get it significantly cheaper. But you can have a program enrich your data for you automatically. So, both of these sites, Hunter and People, they do take a CSV upload. So you could just basically have the, scrape everything that you can, and then you can go and upload it and enrich it yourself. Or you can have a programmer do it for you and deliver everything, so you've already got the email address and all that. API is normally cheaper than if you do a CSV upload, but you got to pay the dude on Upwork. You got to pay your programmer more. So just, if you're doing like 100,000 records, you might want to say, yeah, use the API for Hunter and just get me it complete, and it takes all the hassle out of it, and you'll just have all of your data complete when you get it back from the programmer. Okay, so now you know how to give instructions, because you've seen what it's like to manually scrape, and you're really just showing them a manual process and saying, automate this for me. Let's walk through how to hire on Upwork. So first up, the lingo. So people who scrape use a programming language called Python. Python it's the industry standard for scraping, if there's an industry. And they use an extra bit of software, I guess you'd just call it like a plugin for Python. It's called Selenium. And I know that sounds technical, but you don't want to use anybody who's not using Python or probably Selenium. This is the right way to do it. If they have another solution, they can prove that it's going to work, then all the power to them. Give them a chance. But this is what you use. I have not had anything that I haven't been able to scrape using Python and Selenium. So you want to say it in your ad, in your title, that it's going to be Python, because you only want a Python developer. Sometimes I'll use software like Mozenda. That's a piece of software. But normally on Upwork they won't use this. This is more like if you want a Python programmer. But if you wanted to do it yourself, you could use a program like Mozenda. You don't need to know a programming language. You can actually just use a bit of software and do this whole process. But I find, for me, it's better for me to hire a programmer. I'll normally get a better result. Mozenda may have trouble on very difficult sites with a lot of security, whereas a decent programmer will work out the way around the security. So I'm just going to give you guys a bunch of tips on hiring on Upwork. And leave questions in your comments and stuff like that. But a lot of this will apply to not just scraping. This is just Upwork in general. And I do this because I hire so much on Upwork. I've hired dozens and dozens of jobs, maybe hundreds. So I've gotten pretty good at this, and I know the pitfalls. And Upwork can be terrible. It can be a terrible experience if it's your first time and you go in there and you don't really know what you're doing. But if you follow these tips, you're going to have a really good experience because I'm covering all the bases. So tip number 1, give very specific instructions. So this includes, bullet pointed step by step with screenshots and URLs. So you're saying, this is exactly what I want done, step by step. Here's the screenshots, here's the URLs. Just be super specific. And don't ramble on. Keep it really bullet point, keep it really short and sharp. And I'm going to show you an example ad. Tip number 2. So halfway through your ad, just as a bullet point in your instructions, you write, say the word honey badger in your cover letter so that I know you have attention to detail. So what happens when you make an ad on Upwork is you get hit by a shitload of people trying to apply for your job. It's really hard to filter through them. It takes a lot of time. Instead, and what you'll find is most of them are just copy and pasting their resume in. So you want to have a way that you can just go, okay, well, I didn't even read the fucking job ad. Can them. And the fastest way to do that is this. And I just use the word honey badger because one of my mentors from way back, he told me use the word honey badger, and I've just stuck with it. But use whatever the hell you like. Just make sure that you do this because it's going to help you to filter through the shitload of job applicants you're going to get that haven't even read your job. Tip number 3, invite people with great ratings to do your job. So when you advertise on Upwork, it basically pushes it out to everybody, sends them all an email saying there's a job they might be interested, put you in there so you can be found. But you can also invite people. So I'll actually go and invite a bunch of people, and here's the criteria that I use. So they've earned over $1,000 on Upwork. They've got over 90% success rating. Conversational level of English. You don't need fluent or anything like that, but conversational level of English. And you need an independent contractor. Like, fuck the agencies. I've dealt with them too many times. They're fucking terrible. Just go an independent contractor. You deal with one guy who's accountable to you. No excuses. Nothing gets lost in translation. It's just like, this is what I'm dealing with. P.S. I also use the exact same criteria. So all that criteria I just said, I use that when I'm looking at who I'm going to hire. So anybody I get a resume from, I filter them through that, and they have to meet that criteria as well. Because you're going to get all these people applying that you didn't invite, and you want to make sure that they meet that criteria as well. If you're not getting enough applicants, you can slip that out a little bit. But it's there for a reason. Tip number 4, get samples. So a lot of people on Upwork claim to be able to do shit that they just can't do and think that they can work it out later. And I'm all for saying yes to stuff, but they just don't deliver. So I do that all the time, but I always fucking deliver. So if they've actually scraped stuff, they're going to be able to provide you with CSV from a past client with over 1,000 records. If they can't do that, they're fucking lying to you. So ask for this in your first reply or in the ad, but they need to be able to provide you with a sample. No matter, even if you're not scraping, if you're doing a design job or something, you need samples. Always need it. Tip number 5, be specific on the time frame. So they'll always try to screw you here. So, I do the following. I tell them, you won't be paid anything if you're late, and you agree to this condition. You got to get them to agree. Number 2, this job must be completed in 48 hours, not 48 work hours. And honestly, when they're late, they try to use these sneaky tactics because the thing is, Upwork works in escrow. So you might deposit, it might be a $200 job. You put $200 in, right? It's sitting there, and they protect it until, the guy either delivers, or if he doesn't deliver, you do a dispute. When it goes time to mediate, they're going to look at all of the messages that have happened. And when you say 48 hours, they can say, well, no, 48 hours, I need to sleep. No, I only work 8 hours a day. You're being unreasonable. They knew what was fucking up. They knew what the deal was. But they're just they're looking for an out. I've had this done to me multiple times. So, it's 48 work. It's not 48 work hours. It's 48 hours. I.e., the job needs to be completed by 5 p.m. on the 28th of March, PST, no exceptions. Just be so explicit, because this is where they really try to screw you. And jobs can blow out weeks that should have been 2 days, because they're just trying to work it out. And they don't actually know what they're doing. So get them to agree to this in writing, not just in the ad. So you can't just put it in the ad. It needs to be in the messages discussing the job too. Get them to repeat it back to you that this condition applies, and show they understand. Tough love, guys. Just tough love. Tip number 6, get them to repeat the entire job back. Get them to explain it to you in their own words so you know they understand the entire job. And so, this is really important, because they'll just say yes, yes, yes. Just make sure they have a complete understanding of the job. Tip number 7, never talk to them off Upwork. So Upwork has escrow for reasons. They're to protect you and to protect them. You're doing the right thing. They're not always. And I've screwed this one up before, not even that long ago, in the last 6 months, and it fucked me up. So I know Skype's easier, but you can get the Upwork app on your phone. You can get the notifications. It's not worth the risk. Never talk to them off Upwork, because you can't prove it. What the conversations were. This is where they try to screw you. They say, oh, it's running late, I need more money. Or they try to say, oh, can you give me an advance? They try all this shady shit. Or cancel the job on Upwork, pay me over here. They will try shady shit. You don't know who you're dealing with. So never talk to them off Upwork. Demand constant updates. This is so important. So what happens is, it's as soon as they get awarded the job, they disappear. And this is honestly, this happens to me 40% of the time until I got strict on this, right? That whole tough love kind of thing. They'll get the job, and then they're probably busy already. They're probably already partway through another job, or they're just about to go to sleep or something. They'll take the job on, and then they just disappear. Oh yeah, I've got to go. I'll be back tomorrow. and then they're gone for like 8 hours, even though they agreed it was immediate start. So you want an update every 3 hours during the agreed upon working hours. So they've got no excuse on time zone. It's like, look, this is the time zone you're in, and just make sure you talk through that. It's like, you agree on the work hours beforehand. And look, don't be unreasonable, right? You only want them working 8 hours a day or maybe 10, but like, you want to know what hours they're working. And in that time, you want updates. You want an update at the start of the day that they're starting work, because it could be a big scraping job. Like, you could have them going for days. Or it could be a small one. You still want to do this. Even if they say it's a 2-hour job, do not give them the chance to disappear on you. You want constant updates. It might be every half an hour if it's a small job. Make it clear that no progress still needs to be reported, because they'll just go, oh no, I had nothing to update, or something happened. And honestly, with these people, you'd be surprised how many times their grandma dies out of nowhere. I swear they've all got 18 grandmas. So just be really careful with that. Tip number 9, always go for a flat rate on the job. So you can choose between doing a flat rate on the job or doing an hourly, and they'll blow it out. I've been screwed on this too. As you can see, there's a real pattern here. Been screwed a lot of times on Upwork, but I'm really fucking good at it now. That's why I'm telling you this stuff. Don't do hourly, like they'll blow it out. And the other thing is, you can do milestone payments to keep them happy, but yeah, like it's still on a flat rate. So you might go like half when you're halfway through the job, or you can do 25% milestones. If it's a really big job, then yeah, you should do milestones. Make sure that they're delivering, and it means you can can the job nice and early, and you've only deposited the first milestone. So if you're going to do like a huge job, and with a scraping job, a huge job might be $500. You might put it into 5 milestones. Each of them gets paid at 20%. Well, so you're only depositing $100 because you only deposit when you do the milestone. So if it does go to escrow and there's a dispute and all that shit, you're actually not liable for the full amount. You can tell them to go get fucked because they didn't deliver on the milestone. And your worst case, even if you lose a dispute with Upwork, you only lost 100, not 500. So definitely do that. Tip number 10, tell them that they'll get future work if they do a great job. And this could be from you or referring people, and like, it's just the truth. You never know what jobs you got coming up, but if you can start mentioning a future project, this shows them that it's a long-term relationship. If they do a good job, then you'll keep using them. If they are juggling multiple jobs, which they often do, then you'll get priority because you've got the promise of future work if the other guy doesn't. Tip number 11, make them do the entire scrape. So even if you are a coder, and there's a couple of coders in here, you want them to give you the source code, and even if you're not a coder, always get the source code, because you never know if you're going to reuse it, give it to the next coder. You always want to get the source code as well as the CSV. It'll just be like a .py file or something. Like, get them to give you the source and get them to agree to that up front. But no matter what, you want them to do the entire scrape. So if it's like, and don't pay them until they've got the entire thing done. If it's 100,000 records and they're like 50,000, like, oh, I need to get paid because I've got some bullshit story. It's harder than they thought it was going to be. Unlucky. If you genuinely believe them, give them a bonus or something, but just do not pay them until the job is done and you've got the entire scrape, you have the CSV sitting there and they're delivered. Here's a sample job ad, because I think this will just make it a lot clearer. So, I'll just start with, I need a Python coder using Selenium to scrape xyz.com. Time frame is 48 hours, non-negotiable. You won't be paid if you don't deliver by the 27th of March, 5 p.m. PST. Instructions. Number 1, go to this page. Number 2, go into it, and I'll see how I'm giving a screenshot as well. And I'm even in that screenshot, I'm going to highlight shit. I'm going to draw a little box around it and show them and give them really explicit instructions. And so we get number 4, I'm saying scrape the following details: first name, last name, email address, position, phone. Anything that you want scraped, you need to be really explicit. It's these fields, because they'll do the scrape and you'll just find out that they didn't scrape everything that you needed. If you need the company domain as well as the company name, you need to tell them that you need that. Don't assume that they're just going to get you all of the data. They will get you the bare minimum, because it does take a little bit longer to code in all those extra little bits. So you want to make sure you're very explicit. This is all the data that I need. Number 5, I'm doing the honey badger technique. Number 6, provide all of the data, entire site scraped before 27th of March, 5 p.m. PST. No excuses. See how I'm reiterating the time frame? Because this is the most common thing that goes wrong. And I'm not saying you need to be a hard ass and actually do that. Like, if they are a little bit late, just pay them. I'm not saying be a dick. What I'm saying is you need to set the frame very early that don't fuck with me on this. Don't pull your normal bullshit. because and I'm sorry if that, like, this isn't being racist either. I've dealt with people on Upwork from all over the world, including Australia and the United States, that have pulled this shit. They're freelancers. This is what freelancers do. So it's not about Upwork. It's not about race or anything like that. This is just what freelancers do. You've got to be fucking hard on them. The next thing is, this job is immediate start and must be the only project you're working on until it is finished. A couple of reasons here, and they may lie to you on this, but you want to be clear on it anyway. Firstly, immediate start. You don't want to have them disappear on you immediately. You don't know what time they'll be back available. They could, who knows? If they are working on multiple projects, the other one might blow out, and what gets preference could screw you up. So, yeah, that's important. And then next, please send a sample of scraped data from a past client. 1K records, any industry, CSV format. Tell them exactly what you want, exactly how it is. And if they can't give you that, then, as I say, they're probably not actually, they're just trying to work out how they're going to scrape it. And what will happen is sometimes, see, the thing is, as I said, you can do this manually. And so what happens is some people on Upwork, they'll charge you $40 an hour. And then they'll go pay a team, like, and they'll be like, oh, I'm an elite programmer, you know, I'm $40 an hour. Then they'll go pay a bunch of guys in India like $3 an hour to scrape it all. But they'll do it manually. The thing is, when they do it manually, you actually get errors in the data. Like, it's never as good as if a programmer actually builds something. And so I've had this happen before, and it's just like, why is that got a typo? There was no typo on the website. And then, like, I worked out what they'd done, and I was just like, that is ridiculous. So you just want to make sure that they can, they can give you stuff from a past client in a CSV format. And yeah, 1,000 records, it's, I don't know, they could still game it, but you're just looking for like red flags, really. What should you pay? This is a really good question. And I'm sure a lot of you have got. So I got 50,000 records from angel.co for $300. I got 10,000 real estate agents for $50. It all depends on a few things. The first one is like the number of records. How many do you want? Secondly, like if it has a capture or other security, like sometimes they're kind of hard. Like, so what'll happen is the coder will have to, yeah, it'll just be, I won't get into the technical details, but yeah, the security to stop people scraping. Third thing is the time frame you need it. If you genuinely need it in 48 hours, then expect to pay more than if you're going to give them a week. If you're going to give them a week, you still want like constant updates. By constant, I mean like twice a day, because they're going to leave it to the last minute otherwise, just like everybody does on their homework. So, because they'll take other jobs on in the meantime. Yeah, the other thing is your negotiation ability. That's definitely a factor. And the other thing is, like, sometimes, you know, you just pay more because it's just like a certain, I mean, you got to play the time zones a little bit too. You know, you pay more for various countries. If you want to, you know, I've had really good experiences working with people from Eastern Europe, and, you know, I've had mixed experiences working with people from like India. So, you know, you just do have to play the time zones about like what time they're actually awake when you make your job ad. You know, sometimes if it's super tricky, they may want to do a trial to see if they can actually get it scraping. So they're going to look for security challenges and stuff. And, you know, this is totally reasonable. As a programmer, I know that this can be really challenging sometimes. So you may want to set milestones, and like the first milestone is like $30 to do research on the project. And if that's as far as they get, then you cancel the project. You both mutually agree this is going to be too hard, or, you know, they came back and they said, no, this is going to be more expensive. Then, you know, that's okay. But you can hire them to do the research. You can set it as milestones or do it as a standalone job, but it doesn't really matter. But yeah, this sometimes happens, and I dare say it's pretty reasonable. Fuck the haters. So scraping is totally legal. Anyone who tells you something different is a fucking idiot. There is a source. I can get you even more sources. It is legal. It's frowned upon, sure, but it is totally legal. So that's it, guys. That's the hack. I hope this helps. I hope you can go and scrape some awesome shit. Leave comments in the comments section. That's what it's there for. And, you know, if you've got trouble working out, like, I need this kind of lead, where would I scrape and stuff like that, I'll try. You know, sometimes you just can't, but I am more than happy to help and try to find some places that you can scrape. More than happy to help with your job ads, reviewing those. And as I say, just either message me or leave something in the comments. I'm here to help. All right, guys, talk soon.